I think what people would really like to know and understand is how does someone become you? Um,
Mhm.
how does someone who can make this kind of contribution in the world, how does that happen? And so, what I'd like to do is to start with you telling us your story and in your own words, and go back as far as you like, because people are genuinely interested in how does this happen.
Mm.
So, do me a favor and kind of walk through the episodes of your life that got you to the point where you have been able to make such an intellectual contribution to project management, but also a practical.
Sure. Thank you. Well, I didn't prepare, so I just go natural with my story if I would need to tell it from scratch. So I've been lucky in a sense that my father used to work for the Spanish airlines called Iberia, and he was the station manager. So that means that if Iberia flows to a country, that's where he was the manager. So early in my life, with 2 years, my father moved to Mexico City, and I grew up until 11 in Mexico, and flying back to Spain very often. So then we moved to Italy. From Italy, I went to spend some time in Germany. The US, I went to the smallest state in the US, Rhode Island, to spend 12th grade there. I wanted to study in Spain because I still felt Spanish, but and then I left very quickly to start working in the Netherlands. So my youngest years of my life is very international, with the positives where you it's so rich to learn new languages. It's the easy way to learn languages by being there, but also the difficult challenge of you need to start from scratch again and again. There was no internet. We were talking earlier about your time in Madrid. So you lost your friends, you lost everything, and you had to start over again. So you get to appreciate people, you get to appreciate different cultures, the language. So yeah, a bit rough, but in the end, it makes you a bit very global citizen. So that's kind of the early stages of my early life. I was a quite bad student. I felt bored in school. I was shy with the teachers. I didn't like to speak. I froze when I had to speak. I was really bad at memorizing. So it was a struggling time there. I didn't find my place. I managed to finish everything. I study economics, the same struggle, just passing, getting there. And then I said, okay, let's try work. Maybe I'm better at that.
The capital is so demanding that it's hungry for returns that you
Mhm.
have to be able to move fast. And
Fast.
if you can't move, and that requires this the the choices and choices on both sides. What are we going to do, and what are we going to avoid? Um,
Yeah,
Very important.
very, very. I have lots of points on there, but if you want, Sandy, I can go back to when
Yeah,
that
please,
moment where
please.
I was let go, and I found that gap. I found like, yeah, they were right. Project management was very tactical. And so I did some research. MBAs, for example, the top MBAs in the world didn't teach project management. They were teaching all the other good things, but project management was same. MBAs, so as maybe with a bit of luck, was an elective, but projects was covering operations management, and there was Harvard Business Review didn't publish on project management. It was the lowest topic. Thinkers 50, it was never at this stage. So that was my mission. I said, uh, it's not, I don't want to be rich, or I want to solve this. And that was kind of my driver. I want to publish in HBR. I want to be recognized by Thinkers 50. Even if I come from nowhere, I'm not a professor from a big, but I thought that there was a gap, and that was the gap I wanted to close. And that was my vision, my driver, my whole thing. I kept work because I had to earn a living, but I do wanted to make sure that people understand that projects are the future, and you need to build capabilities to execute that and build that future. So it was one of the best things that could happen in my life was that moment. To build teams, you need to spend time. But
Yeah.
there's no time for that. So you don't even have clarity on the table, and you just throw the people on there without knowing if why they're there or why they're needed. And I think this is where people can make a big impact is there. You know that, Sandy, you play baseball and I play soccer, and there's nothing um, more satisfying and more being proud is being of a team that loses and wins, but wins together, loses together. And unfortunately, we lost the meaning of teams at work, and especially in projects. There's no time to create a team. We're too busy trying to build something and hopefully it gets used. But we forgot that before that, you need to think about, I love the table idea. And then who's the best fit around them? And spend one day creating a team. Don't talk about the project, talk about the people, right?
Yeah.
And that's when things start moving fast. People are proud. There's nothing more proud at work than working in teams and projects. There's nothing more. But in 25 years corporate, I hardly ever remember somebody saying, today we're not going to talk about the project. Today we're talking about us. Sandy, who are you? A bit like you say, who are you? Antonio, who are you? Veronica, who are you? And then
Yeah.
that builds a bit of confidence, trust, and then from there, we got everything upside down. I don't know why, but it's just such a big change. Maybe one last point I want to share, Sandy, because I know people listen to you. I think there's one urgent priority. I feel there's a lot of points we covered, but one urgent matter, I think, I talk often in HR forums or we see is that CEOs or leaders, there's one priority they need to, I believe, focus on is building, I call it transformation, internal transformation muscle. What does it mean is that everyone in the company needs to be comfortable with change and projects, not just 10%, but we're talking about people who are have their job at risk. People who like to work always with the same people, doing always the same thing. This will not last forever. So the number one priority for leaders is building that capability to adapt to change, to feel comfortable to change and thrive at every level of the organization, that internal capability to transform and transform and transform. Hopefully there's some pauses, but if not, but you cannot outsource this. Either you build it or you're out of the game very soon. It's AI is one thing, that's key, but making sure people feel happy and comfortable with having change as part of their core day-to-day at work is one of the most important things, not just for business purpose, but for a human perspective.